Welcome to the RNL Revolution Nothing Less Show. This is our 98th episode on April 21st, 2022. My name is Andy Z. I'm the host of the show, coming to you from Los Angeles, California. Today's show is an invitation, an introduction to the possibility that what has been for too many, for too long, but a dream, that there could be a whole other way how humanity could be living than this life-stealing, spirit-crushing, planet-destroying, outmoded system. Today's show is an invitation and introduction to nothing less than a real revolution to emancipate humanity here and around the world. We hope that the hour that we spend with you today opens the world to you, both a deeper understanding that all the problems we face are rooted in this system that dominates the world today, capitalism, imperialism, and that through a real revolution to overthrow that system, we could establish a new, far better system, a real socialist society where we could go to work on overcoming all forms of exploitation and oppression. It is really possible that through an actual total revolution, humanity could really rise above this dog-eat-dog world of war, environmental destruction, discrimination, oppression, and subjugation of people just because of their nationality, race, or gender. I especially want to extend a welcome to all those who are taking up the momentous and difficult struggle to not allow the U.S. Supreme Court to deny women the right to abortion. We here at the RNL Revolution Nothing Less Show have been inspired by your righteous, ferocious joy as you are standing up for half of humanity to be full human beings. We have and we will continue to do our part, including on today's program, to build that struggle so that millions can be won to rise up for abortion rights. And we hope that you, like all who are watching the RNL show for the first time, will come to see, to feel, and to more deeply understand through this program that both the problems confronting the people here and around the world are rooted in this criminal system, and that they can only be overcome through revolution, and that you start to become a part of this liberating movement for a whole new world. Revolution is not the simple or the easy road. And on the real, there are no easy roads to lift the oppression of thousands of years of traditions, chains, and the vicious meat grinder of the capitalist system off of the back of humanity. And all the more so here in the most powerful country in the world. But today we stand on the precipice of a rare time and circumstance when a revolution in this country could be possible. A revolution that would lift a weight not only off of people here, but around the world. The analysis of why this is possible now, and how the movement for revolution that today is small could grow rapidly, how an actual revolution could win, and what kind of world we are fighting for, has been charted by the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian, B.A. Bob Avakian came into political life in the tumultuous 1960s. He worked with the Black Panther Party in its revolutionary days.
And let me say one thing to the white people in the audience. Now, you know, Bobby has been saying for a long time, we will not fight racism with racism. We refuse to stoop to the level of a racist to hate somebody because of the color of his skin. Well, that's fine. But I see a lot of white people walking around and say, oh, good. Now the Black Panther Party don't hate me. I can go on about my business. That's a cop-out, brothers. And if you act like that, the Black Panther Party will hate you. Not because you're white, but because you ain't taking care of business to organize other people. Teach them the need to support the black liberation movement led by the Black Panther Party as a strong, fearless voice against American imperialism, and to link up with all the people in Vietnam, in China, in Cuba, in Angola, in Latin America, and everywhere else who is standing shoulder to shoulder to drive this vicious beast out of the way and out of the pages of history.
And he became a revolutionary who has consistently, over decades, worked on how to make a revolution, how a new society could work and struggle for a world that has overcome all the different forms of exploitation and oppression all over the world. This has come to be called the new communism, learning from the revolutions of the 20th century and then going beyond. A bedrock principle of the new communism is the understanding that thoroughly repudiates and is determined to root out of the communist movement the poisonous notion and practice that the ends justifies the means. It is a bedrock principle of the new communism that the means of this movement, must flow from and be consistent with the fundamental ends of abolishing all exploitation and oppression through a revolution led on a scientific basis. This is a principle that the capitalist imperialist system and its politicians, its media, and corporate big shots can never apply. The U.S. has committed war crimes over and over again, from Vietnam to Afghanistan, with threats to do so again in Ukraine, and always justified by our ends. Our way of life means we can commit any crime we want. This is a sick society of ends justifying the means. And look, it is also a principle that all who today aspire to and struggle for justice should also practice. And today's takedown and cancel culture that infects the overall culture, as well as too many of the woke social movements, are the system's way and can only lead to a world where might makes right. Here's what we have for today's 98th episode of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. First, with May 1st, just 10 days from tonight, the premiere of this episode, we begin with a message from Noche Diaz, the national spokesperson of the Revolution Clubs, on Revolutionary Internationalist May Day. And this will be followed by a special segment titled Internationalism. The whole world comes first. And then Bob Avakian speaks to all of you who are just finding out about or just coming into this revolution. So all that is preparation for May 1st, 2022. Right after May Day, on May 5th, will be the 100th episode of the RNL Show. And we want to speak with all of you about that show and your role in making that show a big deal. And after that, we have two important segments. First, on the fight for abortion rights, a report from a team from Rise Up for Abortion Rights who are down in Louisville, Kentucky, where a law was just passed that effectively outlaws abortion in that state. And our last segment is on the continuing murder of black youth by the police. So let's go now to May 1st, 2022, and Noche Diaz, the national spokesperson for the Revolution Clubs.
This May 1st, will you be there? May 1st, a revolutionary holiday, marked by people all over the world to struggle for a different, emancipating future through revolution. May 1st, we marched together through the streets of New York City and Los Angeles, everyone who can't stand the way the world is, who is sick and tired of so many people being treated as less than human. Black and brown, Asian and white, everyone who hungers for a world without oppression, exploitation, poverty, and destruction of the environment. Women, men, trans, gay, straight, everyone who has the heart to fight for something that is really worth fighting for. Younger, older, everyone who agonizes about where things are headed and the fact that to be young now means being denied a decent future or any future at all. May 1st. Step up and be counted among those who say no U.S.-NATO war with Russia, no World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to become extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. This system that threatens extinction has a name: capitalism, imperialism. The climate is in a state of emergency, and this system can't stop drilling, plundering, and ruining the environment. And now the USA recklessly risks World War III and nuclear conflict to make sure that only they, and not their imperialist rivals in Russia, get to invade, plunder, and destroy countries. The Republican and Democratic parties that rule this country fight each other over whether to have a fascist future, restoring America's genocidal racism, female enslaving patriarchy, and xenophobic nationalism, or to restore people's faith in the tired old lies of liberty and justice for all that cover for this system of oppression and exploitation. We don't accept their future being forced on humanity because we don't have to. The very way society is splitting apart and showing its rotten core comes with it a chance to get people ready to overthrow this system and make a future worth living in. The RevComs have a plan and the leadership of Bob Avakian to seize on this chance. So May 1st, march together with those who refuse to accept their future. March with those standing shoulder to shoulder as a bold, disciplined, fearless force. Show people how to live today for a different tomorrow. Show people we don't have to numb ourselves by only living for ourselves. Shake people up from sleepwalking through this nightmare. Fight the power, not killing each other. Not clawing for a share of the empire's spoils, but inspiring people with a real-world way to an emancipating future through revolution. Nothing less. And here in LA, join us in letting people know about May 1st by marking the 30th anniversary of the powerful LA Rebellion on April 29th. 30 years since this uprising, after LAPD got away with brutalizing Rodney King on camera, and this system still can't exist without its murdering enforcers acting like pigs. The lessons of the anniversary are this. There is great potential for people to rise up against this system, but it will go nowhere if we do not get organized for a real revolution. So wherever you are, start now. Get the knowledge and guidance you need every week from the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show on YouTube. Build the needed support and let people know about the revolution by raising funds. Spread the word about May 1st gatherings using the revolutionary posters and slogans. And get organized together with others to be there in New York City or Los Angeles on May 1st. As you're doing all of this, building for May 1st, working with the Revolution Club and grappling over why a revolution is necessary, what it involves, and what it is aiming for. Learn about the points of attention for the revolution. And if you come to see that this revolution is what we should live and fight for, be part of joining the Revolution Club. Take up the radically different and emancipating methods, principles, and goals, and be part of a radically different and far better culture, morality, and way of relating to each other. This May 1st, march with the RevComs to say no US-NATO war with Russia, no World War III. It's this system, not humanity, that needs to become extinct. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution.
Noche Diaz concluded his statement for May 1st with the second of two slogans for May Day. We don't accept their future. It's time to get organized for a real revolution. This May 1st, we say it is time to get organized for a real revolution, not just because it is the ongoing oppression and horrors of this system and its wars and destruction of the environment that we need a revolution, which we do, but because we are living in a rare time when revolution could be possible in this country. A year ago, the RevComs issued a declaration, a call to get organized for a real revolution. This brief pamphlet first brought out this possibility. The deep analysis of why this is so is developed in subsequent works by Bob Avakian, especially Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating, Profound Crisis, Deepening Divisions, the Looming Possibility of Civil War, and the Revolution that is Urgently Needed, a Necessary Foundation, and a Basic Roadmap for this revolution. This major work not only delves deep into what makes a real revolution possible now, it provides a roadmap for how we can go to work and prepare to seize this rare circumstance. A declaration and call puts it this way, quote, "Those who rule this system are locked in a bitter fight among themselves, and they cannot hold things together the way they have in the past. Although there are a lot of bad things connected with this, and it could lead to something really terrible, it is also possible that we could wrench something really positive out of it, a revolution to put an end to this system and bring something much better into being." The declaration and call, as well as Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating, show how this can be done. May 1st, as Noche said, is a revolutionary holiday for people all over the world. And we want to play a video that the RNL Show made in 2020 of a quotation from Bob Avakian that is in basics from the talks and writings of Bob Avakian. It begins like this, quote, "If you can conceive of a world without America." Let's watch, and then I'll have a brief comment.
If you can conceive of a world without America, without everything America stands for and everything it does in the world, and you've already taken great strides and begun to get at least a glimpse of a whole new world. If you can envision a world without any imperialism, exploitation, oppression, and the whole philosophy that rationalizes it, a world without division into classes or even different nations and all the narrow-minded, selfish, outmoded ideas that uphold this. If you can envision all this, then you have the basis for proletarian internationalism. And once you have raised your sights to all this, how could you not feel compelled to take an active part in the world historic struggle to realize it? Why would you want to lower your sights to anything less? Bob Avakian.
From the heavens above, see it as it is, see it as it is. No borders or banks, no walls or tanks, no nations, no nations. I got my dreams when I sleep, and I got these dreams that really could be.
I want to just make a brief comment that was provoked by the video we just watched. First, this video was made in the spring of 2020 in the midst of the incredible uprising in response to the brutal murder of George Floyd by the Minneapolis police. And at the beginning of when the music starts in the video, you start seeing some images from that uprising, from the protests that happened in 2020. But today, way too many people have drawn a wrong summation of that massive protest that says it didn't do any good because the police are still murdering our youth because they didn't defund the police. This is not a correct summation. I want to read this from the Declaration, A Call to Get Organized Now for a Real Revolution. It says, last summer, and now it's 2 summers ago, when millions of us of all races and genders rose up all over the country in righteous rebellion in response to the vicious murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor by the police, this powerfully demonstrated the potential for revolution. We were supported and joined by millions more in countries all over the world. And at the height of this whole country and the whole world was compelled to recognize and to talk about the long and continuing chain of these racist murders and big questions about the whole history and nature of this country. Yes, this powerful rising was in the short run misled into dead ends by people working for meaningless petty reforms and seeking funds for themselves and positions within the structures of this system. But that does not change the fact that what was demonstrated was the possibility and the potential for something much greater and far better, an actual revolution. And this has tremendous relevance to the preparations we are doing today and that will be focused up on May 1st for an actual revolution. And it has tremendous relevance to the calls for massive protests to stop the Supreme Court from taking away the right to abortion for women. The song that accompanied this video was Fighting Song by Outer National. Next, we want to recognize that those of you who are new to the idea of revolution or to communism, the new communism, perhaps having seen this show just a couple of times or even watching the RNL show tonight for the first time, may be thinking of how can I be a part of this when I am just finding out about it? We want to show a clip of Bob Avakian answering this precise question in the Q&A period that followed his 2018 talk, Why We Need an Actual Revolution and How We Could Really Make Revolution. So let's watch.
the reason that I wanted to do what we're doing here today is because we need a lot of new people to come into this revolution, become part of this revolution, help to solve the problems of the revolution. I know you might be saying, well, what, how am I going to solve the problems of the revolution? I just heard about this 6 weeks ago. Well, everybody starts somewhere, and everybody has things to contribute. And we really need people to become part of this revolution. And, like I said, people should start with what they, can readily do and feel confident doing, that can contribute and learn more and contribute more and keep advancing. And come in at the point which you're convinced about all of this, including the atheism. Come into the party and help to strengthen the party to be the revolutionary vanguard it needs to be. And meanwhile, go out there and work among broader numbers of people, even while you're learning and struggling and determining whether you do agree with all of it. Help bring forward more people to be part of this process so that we can actually very quickly, and I don't mean in a week or a month, but we don't have indefinite time. Look what's going on in the world. So that we can move to where there are thousands of people organized into this revolution. And believe me, if there are thousands of people organized into this revolution, all acting in a unified way, I don't mean like, I think the same thing as you, I don't have any ideas of my own. No. But I mean having a scientific approach. Having a scientific approach and struggling together to recognize and solve the problems of the revolution. If you have thousands of people who are doing that, you're going to influence and impact the whole society in a very big way. So this is what we need. Look, I've said this before, it has to be understood in the right way, but the millions and billions of suffering people in the world are counting on us even though they don't know it. And a lot of them will tell us that we're wrong and you don't know what you're talking about. I was going to swear, but I've done enough swearing for today. But you don't know what you're talking about. That's not going to get anywhere. Nobody's down with that. Even all those people who tell us that even though they don't know it, they're counting on us in a real sense, because what is represented by what we're talking about and grappling with here is the only way forward out of this madness for these masses, millions and literally billions of people, whether they know it yet or not. So this is a responsibility that we're all called on to take up and contribute in whatever ways we can while we're learning more and struggling with each other and struggling to understand things more deeply and saying what we think is wrong if we think something is wrong and fighting it out. I don't mean this way. But I mean, struggling it out to figure out what's right and how to go forward. This is what we all are called on to do. And to go out and get, what we're called on to do most of all is to go out and bring forward a lot more people to become part of this with us.
2 weeks from today's episode will be the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show's 100th episode. We want to make this a special program about this show. Not only will this episode be about the RNL show, about our mission, what we've done, and what needs to be done, but in an important way, it is about and needs to involve you. The 100th episode must mark the beginning of a campaign to grow the audience for the RNL show to where many thousands are viewing this show every week. A campaign through which RNL viewing circles and parties are not only watching the show, but commenting and raising questions, ideas, and proposals. A campaign that raises the funds to promote the show with posters, stickers, and online advertising. A campaign to find and train and work with new reporters, correspondents, videographers, editors, and graphic artists. There's no other show that every week brings why we need a revolution, what a revolution is, how we could really make a revolution, and what kind of society and world this revolution would bring into being. The Revolution Nothing Less show not only features the work of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian, but we bring alive the Constitution for a new socialist republic in North America that he wrote, that is not only a vision of a new society, but a very concrete blueprint for a society that is going to work on overcoming all the wars, environmental devastation, and divisions that plague humanity today. The 100th episode is an opportunity to work together to overcome the contradiction between the great need that the RNL Show fills and its unique quality, and on the other hand, the still too low level of viewership. Let's go to work on this. We have a few things to ask you to do today, and then we'll have more next week in our 99th episode. So for today, please start sending us video testimonials, whether they're individual or group. You can record this on your phone, or you can get more elaborate if you want to. And we want to share these on our channel and some of them on the 100th episode. And very important, send us your ideas for how to expand the audience, along with suggestions for the show itself. Now let's watch this video prepared by the RNL Show crew on some very important steps that you can take to boost the viewership of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show right now.
Are you watching this show for the first time? Or are you a returning viewer? Do you value what the RNL Show brings you every single week? Be a part of growing this audience to impact all corners of the internet and all of society. Here's how. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when new episodes drop. Watch the premiere on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. The more you watch, the more the almighty algorithm is pleased.
We have technology.
So stay for the whole episode and be sure to rewatch, not only to boost the content, but most importantly, to absorb the analysis and leadership being given. Smash that thumbs up button and give us feedback. Get in the comments section. What stood out to you? What made you look at the world differently? What questions do you have? What do you want to see addressed in the next episode? Spread this episode and other episodes everywhere, online and in real life. Design a stencil with the show title and URL and go to town. Host RNL Show watch parties on Thursday nights. Take to the interwebs. Spread links to the show in your online community. Twitter, Reddit subgroups about the environment, Facebook groups opposing patriarchy. Get this show everywhere. Tell your friends, coworkers, and neighbors to watch. Tell them why this show is important to you and all of humanity. Tell them that there's nothing else like this show which brings people the real, cold, hard truth about this country and its crimes, the reality of the actual problem facing humanity, this system of capitalism, imperialism, and the real solution, revolution, and how to make this revolution. Make a video saying why you watch and why others should too. Post it on your social media and tag @TheRevComs. Your video might be featured on the 100th episode of the RNL Show. And finally, become a Patreon at patreon.com/TheRevComs. Support the show financially so that we can not just keep making this content, but making it possible for this content to get far and wide. Got ideas for other ways to do this? Good. Send us your thoughts on what you've been doing to spread the show. DM @TheRevComs on all social media platforms or email therevcoms@gmail.com.
Yes.
Let's make a leap in the viewership
Yes.
for the 100th episode and continue building the audience for the Revolution Nothing Less show together.
Next, we're going to go to Sunsara Taylor, the co-host of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show. Sunsara is in Louisville, Kentucky, with a delegation from the Rise Up for Abortion Rights movement. I'm speaking with Sunsara via Zoom on Wednesday night. They're getting ready for some actions on Thursday. Sunsara, how you doing?
Andy, I'm doing well. It's really good to be with you.
All right, so why don't you tell us, you have some video that you guys recorded today when you went out on the campus there. Why don't you tell our audience what they're going to see?
All right, so Andy, we came down here to Kentucky, where we are right now, because last week, this became the very first state in the country to completely shut down all abortion access. There are only 2 abortion clinics in this state, and they had to cancel all the appointments for people, women and others who had abortions scheduled. And women in this state, if they found out they were pregnant and they didn't want to be, there were no options for them to terminate an unwanted pregnancy without leaving the state if they could find the resources. This is an emergency here in Kentucky, and it's a harbinger. It's a warning of the future for at least half the country if Roe v. Wade falls. And the Supreme Court on track right now to gut or overturn Roe v. Wade. So we came here to sound the alarm, and we are organizing protests tomorrow nationwide and in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. We want to show a video. We were, like you said, out around the city today, spreading the word about this, getting reactions. Skylar and Patricia, who are two leaders in riseuppforabortionrights.org, who came to Louisville with me from different parts of the country, are going to talk a little bit about what we did here today, and you'll see some of the voices of the people that we met.
So we're out here in Louisville, Kentucky at the University of Louisville, and we are spreading the word about the abortion rights emergency and about our upcoming demonstration tomorrow at 4 p.m. at the Metro Hall in downtown Louisville.
There's so many people that we've encountered that they do not know about what's been happening in Kentucky, and they're so surprised, and they have said they're pissed. They cannot believe this is happening, that they took away the right for abortion. They're definitely coming and joining us tomorrow. And we've just met some people that have said thank you so much for doing this. People have not encountered so many people that are pro-abortion, so they're surprised. And they are angry with this.
Okay, so we're here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm talking to students. You didn't know about the abortion ban.
I did not. I've been very in my head because of finals and everything. So.
But you didn't hear it on the news?
Nope.
Students weren't talking about it?
Nope.
What'd you think when I just told you that Kentucky banned all abortions?
Like I said, I think that's fucked up. I think that you can't do that. It should be their choice.
Did you know that Kentucky had banned abortions?
Yes, actually. I'm a very big pro-choice person, and I kept up with it, and I knew that the Supreme Court was going to go with it soon, and I got really scared. I got really frustrated, and I've been keeping up with it, and I saw that Governor Andy Beshear vetoed it, and I saw they overturned it, and I was like, but yeah, I knew about it.
Yes, we did.
How did that make you feel?
It's pretty fucked up, and I'm actually like enraged right now. When I heard about it, okay, my friend posted it on social media because I wasn't on my phone, and I was like, actually, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy, because why are these men think that they can control our bodies and shit? It's fucking annoying.
My body, my choice, and you can't tell me what to do with it.
Literally. Fuck Kentucky for doing this, honestly.
I feel betrayed, but also as a black woman too, I didn't expect it, but I was just like, there's another thing to be, discriminated against.
It made me feel degraded that I didn't have a say in what happened to me or my body or what happens to my friends. And it just infuriates me because I hate the fact that someone else thinks that they get to decide what happens to me. And if I don't want to go through with that, it shouldn't be up to anyone else but me.
All right, so how do you feel about Kentucky banning all abortions last week?
I think it's very awful, and I think it's unsafe, and I feel like it shouldn't be that way, and people should be able to make their own choices.
As a woman, honestly, we should be able to make our own decisions with our bodies. So it's pretty horrendous that Kentucky decided to do this. You know, it's the only state. I don't know what change would happen, but not cool. And it's just like, it can lead to trauma because everybody has different reasons as to why they get abortions. So, you know, it can lead to some real trauma. So something got to be figured out because this is not it.
So how do you feel about women losing the right to abortion in Kentucky?
It's pretty gross. You know, there's like a lot of situations where like, well, like obviously women should always be able to choose, but like there are points where like rape happens or some people can't have kids because of health complications and stuff like that. And it's really gross to like have those like things not considered.
What do you think it says about the view of women?
I think it says that they don't really respect us and our bodies, and they are kind of trying to take control over our bodies, and that's not right.
For sure. I totally agree because it all comes back to our rights. Like, just like with women not being able to vote back in the day, like, are we starting to regress? Like, what's going on? Yeah.
I wasn't surprised because we do live in the South, but it made me extremely angry because with everything that's going on today, the fact that we're still trying to control women's bodies.
I was actually I was gonna try to walk away when you came because I was expecting you to be a pro-life person. Yes. And then I was pleasantly surprised when you gave us this flyer instead, but I'm glad that you're doing this work.
When you first saw us, you said, oh my God, are you for abortion or not? What was your fear?
That I was about to be screamed the Bible at me because apparently the Bible makes the laws in our country. I was raised Catholic and I wouldn't get an abortion, but it's not my place to tell someone what they can and can't do. It's nobody's place. The Bible is not the book of laws for the world.
as someone who's trans too, like, it just, these types of policies usually go together. It's not just going to be banning abortions today, it's banning abortions tomorrow, it's banning access to trans healthcare. It's just more stuff to keep people oppressed within our system.
And why do you think it's important to go to a protest?
Because that's how things change.
A change has to happen. So we're definitely going to attend this protest. Hopefully you guys can attend it or just make a change with the abortions, because we have to have a choice as women. We have to.
I'm definitely attending, and you guys should too.
Yes. There is this thing in front of Metro Hall at 4 p.m. to rise up for abortion. We're meeting in front of the Metro Hall, I think it was, and it's to help stop the Supreme Court from taking away abortion rights for women. And you should definitely come out there if you can. Tomorrow, right when the Metro Hall, in front of Metro Hall at 4 p.m., we're gonna get coat hangers, and we're gonna either tape it or attach it anywhere on campus or around Louisville to let everyone know what's happening.
Well, we will be there at the protests. It's at the Metro Hall. Metro Hall. We'll be there. We will be there. It's tomorrow. These pictures are actually so, like, it's so sad to see this.
I wasn't even looking into this.
No, look at that. Like, that's just so, like, that's just not right. Like, that's, like, actually taking away your human rights. And people just don't seem to understand that. Literally.
So we are calling for a National Coat Hanger Day. So we are calling on all people everywhere to make some of these lovely coat hangers that Patricia is holding up. And the coat hanger is a universal sign of the fight for abortion rights. And so we have these coat hangers on our website, and then we'll also be doing a demonstration tomorrow where we will be doing a die-in and a little rally and procession in downtown Louisville. And some of our students from Chicago created a wonderful video to describe what we'll be doing.
Did you know that this Thursday is National Coat Hanger Day?
This Thursday, April 21st, nationwide we will spread thousands of wire coat hangers with messages sounding the alarm about abortion rights emergency and the need to join in.
If it was legal, women with unwanted pregnancies would untwist wire coat hangers and insert them into their vaginas and all the way up into their uterus. Countless women died from these desperate attempts at self-induced abortion. Now, the wire coat hanger remains a symbol of inequality, aiming to graphically illustrate the real-world life and death stakes of safe and legal abortion access for all women.
You know what a great way to fight back against fascism is? By acting all together on this common day with a creative message that captures the life and death stakes for women and girls and all people who can become pregnant. We aim not only to compel people who can see these coat hangers in real life to stop and take notice, but to break into the media and viral social media to start this change and join together in our message.
Hang the coat hangers with this emergency message that can be found on riseuppforabortionrights.org. Put it on a door. Hang it all around your college campuses.
Now is the time to stop the U.S. Supreme Court from decimating abortion rights.
All right, so Skylar, last weekend, riseuppforabortionrights.org held a nationwide organizing summit. Can you tell a little bit about that?
We had a really productive summit last weekend, and we had over 150 people show up. And I think one of the most important things that came out of this summit is people felt empowered to go out wherever they are and spread the word however they're able to, as well as start the chapters in areas where there aren't any right now. And we've created a toolkit for anyone who's interested in learning more about spreading the word or starting their own chapter on our website, which is riseup4abortionrights.org. And we created some more plans moving forward for the National Week of Action.
And Patricia, you were part of the summit. Do you want to talk a little bit about the summit and some of the plans of the Spanish speakers? You led that breakout workshop.
I was happy that, we had a session in Spanish for all the people that wanted to join and just share ideas in Spanish, or for those who don't speak English, it's a good thing that they can join and do it in their language. But yeah, we have been talking about the action for Mother's Day in May 8th. So we're going to be doing something at the church. We're going to show up, because a lot of people are going to be there for Mother's Day, and we need to say that we do not want the enslavement of women and force them to be mothers. So We're going to also invite all the people that want to come for this flash mob called Un Violador en Tu Camino, which is very famous in all Latin America for their rights for abortion. So that's what we're working on.
And Skylar, do you want to say anything more about the week of action, May 8th through 14th?
Yeah, so May 8th through May 14th, we are calling on all people everywhere to take actions, big or small, wherever they are, to help spread the word, spread the green, and activate people to take action in their town. Some of these plans include banner drops over freeways and, postering and chalking and demonstrations, and this is all going to culminate on May 14th for mass protests nationwide.
All right, Sunsara, thank you for that video report. So what else do you want to add to this report and to what the decisions were of the national meeting of Rise Up for Abortion Rights?
Yeah, so, at this national organizing summit that we had last weekend that Skylar mentioned, people did come together from all over this country in many, many different states across the country. And we took a decision that given the looming decision coming from the Supreme Court, they're going to rule on this major case out of Mississippi that could gut or overturn completely nationwide abortion protections sometime this spring. It could come any day. It's expected May or June. That we need to raise the level of struggle across this country. There is a profound need for everybody who cares about justice, who cares about women, who cares about the future, to rise up for abortion rights. So we have called for a week of action for people to act in different sectors. Students are planning actions on campuses, culminating in a student walkout towards the end of that week. It's May 8th through 14th. People are acting, as you heard from Patricia. Some of the Spanish speakers are organizing to get Spanish-speaking communities together out on Mother's Day. There's a need for artists to take this up in different ways, for people in the medical professionals, in the sciences, in the arts, in many different ways, for people to act and raise their voices, big and small, so that cumulatively, by the end of this week of struggle, we have put this question of abortion rights for women, abortion on demand and without apology, or forced motherhood, enforced by the state, which is the trajectory we're on if we don't disrupt it, making everybody have to pick a side and show where they stand. And on May 14th, for this to culminate in a unified day of mass protest to refuse to let the Supreme Court take away abortion rights and to demand abortion on demand and without apology. And this is a major struggle that we are fighting to unleash, to really change the calculus of the Supreme Court, to fight to defeat this assault on abortion rights. And it's going to require profound unity of people from many different perspectives rising up together.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Look, this is a real uphill battle, but it can be won. It can be won if we get to a struggle involving hundreds of thousands and then millions of people refusing to go along with this. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the open letter that Rise Up for Abortion Rights issued just earlier this week on Monday, and what the point of that was and what needs to be done.
Yeah, so some of the co-initiators of Rise Up for Abortion Rights, Merle Hoffman, Lori Sokol, and myself, we issued a public letter, and it's really to everybody of conscience, all the leaders and organizations concerned with abortion rights, concerned with civil rights, with LGBTQ rights, with environmental rights, and many, many religious communities, progressive people in many different spheres. We issued this letter to these individuals and publicly, saying that really the reversal of Roe v. Wade, the reversal of abortion rights in this country would constitute one of the most significant reversals of a fundamental right of the people in the history of this country. It would do irreversible, irreparable harm to women and girls, and that has to be stopped, and all people who can become pregnant. And it would accelerate a whole trajectory of a fascist assault on the rights of many other people, the white supremacy bound up with it, the hatred of LGBTQ people, that if we don't draw a line now, it's going to be much worse for every struggle for justice, everybody who cares about the future. So we put this out with great sincerity that this is a moment when people need to come together and rise above any differences, secondary issues that they might have with each other, ego, petty squabbles, and put the needs and interests of humanity first and stand up together May 14th to demand the Supreme Court not take away abortion rights and to demand abortion on demand and without apology. And we really raise in this letter the lessons of history when people have not found the ways to unite at sharp turning points, and that this is a time that we must rise together.
The call for this broad unity on May 14th is very important. The fight to stop the Supreme Court from effectively banning abortion is an uphill fight. It's a long shot to be able to do that, but it is a real shot. If hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people would take to the street in a sustained way, keep coming back, the Supreme Court could be compelled to retreat from whatever it is they're planning to do. And look, they are on track to overturn this, right? But history has shown there are times when massive struggle can create a situation where the legitimacy of the institution, an institution that is essential to how the United States has a facade of democracy, actually can function. And so they take this very seriously. There's a lot of worry. Are we going to be seen, we, the Supreme Court, as a political institution? If there is this kind of mass pressure, this battle could be won. But I want to say one more thing. If we win this battle, that's not the end of the struggle, because there's a Christian fascist movement in this country that's going to come back at us. And if we lose this struggle, and especially if we lose this struggle not having struggled, not having taken to the streets, we'll be in a far weakened position with these anti-abortion fanatics on fire, having won this victory and wanting to extend and go even further to take away the LGBTQ rights. There's a big battle in society that standing aside from this battle is going to be disastrous.
You know, Andy, as we have been on the ground here, and I think you saw some of it in the voices earlier we played, the young women that we've spoken to on the campuses here in Louisville, and it's the same thing across this country. I spoke to a young woman today. I asked her how she felt when the Kentucky ban on all abortions came down, and she said, you know, I feel degraded. And I said, how does it make you think the state looks at you as a woman? And she says, it means we don't matter. And she's right. These are young women whose whole future is in front of them, and there's generations coming behind them where they're looking out at something. Another young woman said, you know, I was violated when I was 16 years old, and I was terrified that I was pregnant. And imagine I hadn't had the right to abortion. This is real life and death and the conditions of women's lives here in Kentucky right now. And it is a threat to women and everybody who can become pregnant nationwide within weeks. So it is so important that we get out there, everybody watching, join in spreading the word about this abortion rights emergency, letting people know there's a way to fight this and there's a force to join with. And there's a need for broad unity and, yes, fierce struggle and unleashed fury right now to not let this go down.
Sunsara, thank you. Keep wearing that green kerchief and keep spreading the green, and we'll hear from you next week.
All right, Andy, thank you.
Good night. Take care. Next up, as I announced at the beginning of the program, is a segment on the continuing police killings of Black and Latino youth. Today's segment is going to be on the non-indictment of the officers who killed Amir Locke in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This segment was produced and written and narrated by Atlas from the RNL Revolution Nothing Less crew.
Imagine you're 22 years old, a young, aspiring musician. You're getting ready to make your big move in the world. Getting ready to move back to Texas in just a few short days to be closer to your mom. Your friend lets you stay on their couch, and you doze off with the comfortable sound of the television on, perhaps dreaming about the whole future you have ahead of you. One would think this would be a peaceful rest. But no Black person in America has the luxury of peaceful rest. Being Black in America means that there's always a wolf at the door. And every day you feel it breathing down your neck, standing over you while you sleep. The gun at the side of a young man named Amir Locke was evidence of this. It was 6:47 a.m. when a pack of wolves gathered outside the door of an apartment in Minneapolis, thirsty for blood and sharpening their teeth. It was 6:47 a.m. when the Minneapolis police, using what they call a no-knock warrant, entered the apartment where Amir Locke was sleeping. Police claimed that they had busted into the apartment because they were looking for an alleged homicide suspect. But Amir had no criminal history, and his name wasn't even on the warrant the police were acting on. As they entered the apartment, Amir was sleeping on the couch. 4 seconds after they entered, the cops kicked the couch, and the startled Amir picked up his legally registered gun. Amir's parents tried to do everything they could to prepare their son for the life he would face being black in America. When Amir was 13 years old, his mom took him to a rally for Trayvon Martin. His parents tried to teach him how to deal with the police so that he could make it home safe at the end of the day. And yes, they taught him how to safely handle a gun to protect himself and those he loved. Amir was a DoorDash driver and carried the weapon for protection, which he had a permit for. But all this meant nothing to the police. It took 9 seconds to decide that Amir Locke was not a person who deserved to live, and put 3 bullets in Amir's body. And before you go saying, but he had a gun, let me ask you, what happened to the right to bear arms? Notice that word, right? If someone is sleeping on the couch and a gang of people suddenly crash through the door, is it understandable that the person might think they have to defend themselves? Listen to the words of Amir's mother.
You'll never get to see your 22-year-old baby ever again. It is not right that it took me 10 hours to bring Amir into this evil, racist, unjust world. And then in less than 9 seconds, you decided that he wasn't worth nothing but less than 9 seconds of a human being.
The Minnesota Attorney General and Hennepin County Attorney held a press conference after the shooting. Despite saying that Amir Locke's life mattered,
Amir Locke's life mattered,
and calling his death a tragedy,
this death is a tragedy,
they announced that they would not be filing charges against the pig who shot Amir Locke. And now listen closely, because what you are about to hear reveals something deeply shocking and monstrous about the society we live in. Listen in their own words why they say that they cannot or will not file charges against this cop. And keep in mind, this is coming from a progressive Democrat.
We cannot file criminal charges. We would not be able to prove in court that Officer Henneman's use of force was not authorized.
That's based not only in the Minnesota statute, but the federal constitution.
Listen to that. They would not be able to prove that cutting down an innocent young black man was not authorized use of force. He said that's based on the U.S. Constitution. Think about that. No, really. Stop. Think about that. Listen to this clip from Bob Avakian breaking down what this logic really means. Here, Bob Avakian is talking about the murder of Mike Brown in Ferguson in 2014.
Listen to the police and what they tell you. Well, if Officer, notice how respectfully he's treated. Officer Wilson. He's a thug, a murderer. Officer Wilson. Well, if Officer Wilson is indicted, that's going to make it very difficult for police officers in these difficult situations where their life is on the line. Let's translate that into real terms. What they're saying is, if we can't go out and shoot down these youth in cold blood over and over again, we cannot and will not do our job. Because that is their job. And let me ask you this. If that is not their job, then why do they do it over and over and over and over again? And why are for doing it over and over and over again. Because this is what this system needs them to do. Because it has a whole section of people in the inner cities that it can't even profitably exploit anymore. So it treats them as so much human garbage. Instead of being able to and moving to provide them with work and a decent life, it pens them in the ghettos, encourages them to kill each other, and then kills them on top of all that.
If you listen to the media, you will hear them over and over harping on the fact that Amir had a gun, as if a black person even just holding a gun is enough to justify him being executed by the police.
A blanket on a couch holding a gun.
Wrapped in a comforter holding a pistol.
Police say he had a gun in his hand.
Here they're revealing to you another outrageous truth about the system we live under. I want to leave you with this deeper truth from Bob Avakian's recent speech, Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating. Listen and think about it.
This brings up another important dimension of working for revolution and opposing the fascists as part of doing that. It is necessary to sharply expose and oppose and fight to politically and practically overcome the reality that for white supremacists and fascists generally, the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, has been regularly upheld and given the backing of the law and the courts and the support of the police and other institutions of the state. While for black people, other oppressed people, and generally those opposing the oppression and injustice of this system, the right to bear arms, even in self-defense, has been actively opposed and suppressed. This is made graphically clear in the book by Carol Anderson, focusing on the Second Amendment, the second, Race and Guns in a Fatally Unequal America. This book contains yet more searing exposure of the depraved violence visited upon black people throughout the history of this country, and speaks to how the right to bear arms has never applied to black people, and instead there has been the perverse right to kill black people on the part of the powers that be and racist whites generally. This cannot be allowed to continue.
Our final segment for today's show is a commemoration for a heroic revolutionary who was murdered on April 22nd, 1980, while building for May 1st, 1980. Damian Garcia was a revolutionary communist who was part of building for May Day 1980. Damian traveled down to Texas. He climbed on top of the Alamo, which is a notorious symbol of the theft of the land that is now Texas from Mexico, to open up that land for the expansion of slavery. Standing on top of the Alamo, Damian tore down the flags of the United States and Texas that symbolized the past and ongoing bloody oppression of Mexican and Native peoples, and he raised in their place the red flag of revolution, of communism and internationalism. For this brave act, Damian inspired people all over the world. He also incurred the wrath of the enforcers of this system. Just a few weeks later, on April 22nd, 1980, while organizing for May 1st in a housing project on the east side here in Los Angeles, he was murdered by someone who shouted, quote, "You hate the government. I am the government. Your flag is red. My flag is red, white, and blue." Bob Avakian wrote about this in his memoir, From Ike to Mao and Beyond, and I encourage you to read that memoir. In writing about this, Bob Avakian included a commemorative statement he made in 1980, and we want to play that for you right now.
To die in the causes for which the imperialists and reactionaries have and will, on an even more monstrous scale, enlist the people, or to give up living and to die a little death on your knees, or to consume oneself in futile attempts at self-indulgent escape. All this is miserable and disgraceful. But to devote your life and even be willing to lay it down, to put an end to the system that spews all of this forth, to live and die for the cause of the international proletariat, to make revolution, transform society and advance mankind to the bright dawn of communism. This is truly a living and a dying that is full of meaning and inspiration for millions and hundreds of millions fighting for or awakening to the same goal all around the world. Such was the life and death of Comrade Damian Garcia, a fighter and martyr in the army of the international proletariat.
So that brings us to the end of this, the 98th episode of the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show on April 21st, 2022. I want to remind you and encourage you to come out on May 1st and join us, the RevComs, in Harlem, New York City at Marcus Garvey Park, and here in Los Angeles at MacArthur Park. You can find the information for this on the website, our website, revcom.us. And once again, we are approaching on May 5th, 2022, the 100th episode of the RNL Show. And I want to remind you again to send in testimonials of what it is you find you like about this show and why other people should watch it, and to send in your comments and your suggestions and your criticisms for how of the show and for how we can really spread this and build the audience of this most important show. So with that, I'm going to say good night. We will see you next week at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Central time, and 8 p.m. New York time.